Welcome to Fix My Deck, episode 9. Today we're going to be talking about Daghatar the Adamant. And I say we because my intern is going to join me for this episode of Fix My Deck. Say hi, intern.
Hello, I'm the intern.
And
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
yeah, Daghatar the Adamant is an Asban colors, white, black, and green. 4
It's
mana,
Abzan,
vigilance.
not Asban. I made this
Asban.
mistake a bunch when I was
Abzan.
typing this up.
Okay. Dagathar the Adamant is an Abzan colors, and it costs 4 mana and has vigilance, ETBs with 4/1/1 counters on it, and then you can pay 3 mana to move a 1/1 counter from target creature onto a second target creature. And this person is trying to make a human tribal deck, so their restriction is humans and changelings only, and they're not making a deck that's very reliant on the commander, and they're saying it's too slow, it runs out of cards, it loses to board wipes, and it has trouble getting through a large wall of blockers. And also of note is they are on a budget of under $50. So my intern has gone ahead and made cuts to this deck and moved them into the sideboard, and then we have the cards we'll add in considering. So we can go through kind of the cuts.
Yeah,
And
I'd say overall, like this deck is 90% there, and I really like kind of the theme and what it's trying to do, and it's really just about kind of refinement. So we'll go through the creatures, I think, first that we're just dropping. So I think
uh,
the first is the Arcus Acolyte, which I think is a good two drop, but Outlast is just not that good of an ability. And it only
yeah.
adds Outlast to creatures without counters.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's kind of a non-bow.
Yeah. The next creature is Dune Outrider, which is this card's a house limited, but unfortunately it is not very good in this deck
Yeah,
specifically because it's the double black pip is hard to
the
hit
double black
consistently
is
on turn
rough,
two.
and then it's still just a 1/1 that only gets bigger by 1 each turn. That's not meaningful in EDH.
Yeah.
Uh,
The same
oh,
can be said
experiment
about
one.
Experiment One.
Ugh, that's
Very cool
sad.
card, but Evolve is just not going to trigger with humans because most of them are like 1/1s and 2/2s. So maybe you get it to be a 1/1. And Regenerate is not that useful in what the deck is trying to do.
Hamlet Vanguard.
This is a great card, but I think ultimately it's not that impactful in that what on turn three it comes down as a 3/3 or a 5/5 optimistically. I guess there are the late game plays, but even then you're just getting what a 7/7/9/9 like a big creature with ward
Yeah, and it
for
doesn't have trample
three.
or evasion, so.
Yeah.
Oh, Herald of Anafans. I love this card too, but it's not. I don't love it in EDH.
It's Outlast is just not that good.
Jukai Preserver. I mean, I like the art and everything, but that's also a little bit on the weak side. Parish Blade Trainee. I mean, that's kind of cool. That's like an Ozolith effect, but still, it's probably not going to get that big typically.
Timberland Guide is another kind of in a not particularly impactful way to give
Yeah, I mean,
counters. They're
it's
more
it's
synergistic creatures.
it's like Grizzly Bears or below Grizzly Bears. It's like 2 power and toughness for 2 mana.
That's a bear.
Is it 2 for 2?
Yeah, 2 for 2. An elephant's 3 for 3. What is it? Beasts or 4 for 4?
Right.
Something like that.
Okay, so that's all the creatures we're gonna cut. And then for
Yeah.
artifacts, animation module,
It's
yeah,
really
that's we
cool.
don't really need the colorless servo creature tokens if we're going human tribal. And then the copy ability, we only are doing 1/1 counters. We're not doing other types of counters, so you'd only it's like 3 mana tap, put a 1/1 counter on target creature.
Yeah, and your commander can already move counters around, so it's not a great way to add counters.
So Arcane Signet, I'm surprised you want to make this cut, but
I'm on team lean into the theme for humans, and instead of running Arcane Signet, run humans that can tap for mana
yeah,
and
that's
potentially
valid.
have some type of secondary ability. Like we'll get to it when we actually talk about what we're adding, but I really like Intrepid Paleontologist because not only does it tap for any color, but it also acts as graveyard hate.
Yeah, for sure. Bow of Nylea. I guess this player must have put this in because of the attacking creatures you control of Death Touch, because they said they're having issues with walls of blockers.
Or the +1/+1 counter synergy, being
Oh
able
yeah, it
to
has that
add
too.
counters.
I mean, this is kind
It
of neat.
it's a good card. I just think that there are better things to be doing on
Yeah,
turn three.
we want to get the human count up too. So the more cards like Arcane Signet that we can replace with humans, the better this deck will be. Chromatic Lantern, that seems valid. We'll fix the color. I mean, I don't hate Chromatic Lantern the way a lot of people do, but
I
it's
think the
not.
deck's fixing is off the charts. It only
Yeah,
runs
we'll have.
4 basics
Yeah,
and
I
a
mean, it's
bunch
got
of
like
fetch
it's got
lands. And
off-color fetches and stuff, so I don't think we'll need Chromatic Lantern.
Golgari Signet
Golgari,
is also
same as Arcane
kind of.
Signet, basically.
Mhm.
And those on Urza's Incubator, and yeah, we discussed this before, and most of the humans don't even have two generic mana in their cost, so you don't really get that much value out of it for the most part. I mean, this is amazing in my Angels deck because most of my Angels are like 5, 6, 7 mana, and 3 or 4 or 5 of that is generic. But in this deck, we're looking at a lot of humans that are, many of them don't even have a single generic mana in them. So we covered that stuff. Now let's just do instants and sorceries at the same time, maybe.
Oh yeah. Okay. I guess what common bond.
Oh, yeah, Common Bond. Yeah, this is not worth it because it's 3 mana for 2 power and toughness.
It's good and limited.
Yeah. Dire Tactics.
Dire Tactics is on theme and is a great card, especially in human tribal. But the deck's already running both Path
Path and
and
swords and everything. Yeah, we probably don't. It's probably enough removal.
mhm.
Fracture, yeah, probably enough removal. I mean, I'm guessing this deck, it's really hard to get ahead just one for wanting people. Like if this deck's facing a wall of blockers, it can't cast enough. It's not going to be able to cast enough spot removal to remove like a wall of blockers. Like it can get rid of a couple critical creatures and slow an opponent down, but you can't be depending on spot removal to get through. Yeah,
Reap
this
What
is
Is Sown.
similar to the previous one discussed. It's just 3 mana, 3 power and toughness for 3 mana isn't that relevant in EDH. Return to
Return to
Nature.
Nature is very. There are better ways to do this,
Yeah.
and uh, yeah, we'll talk about kind of like the swaps. Like there's a great.
Oh, this does
It's
make me
called
think about
Requisition Raid.
Selesnya Charm. Selesnya Charm could be good in this deck. Doesn't it make a human knight?
I can't remember,
Okay.
but I prefer Requisition Raid because it lets you do all of the modes, and one of the modes is put a +1/+1 counter on each creature,
Okay,
which I think
yeah.
is really potent.
Scale the Heights. I like this card a lot, but
It's good. It's just, and it is on theme with all the things the deck wants to be doing. I just think that there are more impactful things to be
yeah, I
done on turn
agree.
three.
It's actually a deck card. I've taken it out of and put it in my Yoshi Kodama deck multiple times, and I think there's another deck I have it in too, where I'm just always like, it's like sometimes I'm disappointed with it, sometimes I like it. Oh yeah, Travel Preparations. Yeah, this is similar to the other ones discussed, where this is gonna be 4 mana for 4 power and toughness, which still isn't the level of mana we need, like the kind of impact we need for EDH. Like we need
You want
cards
more
that are like
efficient
10.
things.
We need to put 10/1/1 counters on creatures for 5 mana or something. We want more efficiency and like bigger plays. So, and then we'll talk about the fetches later, I think.
Yeah.
So let's start with this Planeswalker, Ajani. I like this Planeswalker. I run it in Yoshi Kodama. He's just really
Vigilance is
solid.
an underrated keyword. Being able to attack and block at the same time is amazing. And then,
Yeah, I've heard that a
uh,
lot lately.
yeah, uh, yeah. Antheming, like distributing +1/+1 counters to all your creatures, is what this deck wants to do, and can consistently do it twice per, you know, before you need to
Yeah,
start plussing the commander. And gaining 3 life is nothing to sneeze at. It's useful.
yeah, yeah. It's a decent card. I like it. Let's go through all the creatures now. So Asban, Battle Priest. I thought you just
Abzan.
told me as Abzan Battle Priest. I thought you just told me Outlast is bad, or
Outlast
in turn.
is not Outlast is not very good, but giving all creatures with +1/+1 counters lifelink is very strong, and
Okay, well,
it's a redundant effect to another creature that's already in the deck. I'm trying to remember what that one's called. Envoy of the Ancestors, but lifelink is great.
oh, I'm gonna have to mess up our plans, I think, because I'm gonna insist on one of my favorite cards going in this deck.
Oh, Selfless Squire. I did think about putting that card in this.
It's 49 cents and it enters with counters.
It is very good.
So we'll run this and then we'll have to figure out something else to cut. I mean, it's also just hilarious in EDH. I mean, Selfless Squire, it's like someone swings at you for 40 damage and then you flash this in and block and absorb 40 damage and potentially just swing back and kill them the next turn. And plus the fact that it's creature makes it usually harder to counterspell because a lot of people are running like Swan Song and stuff that can't hit this.
An offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, or that free commander counterspell that I hate seeing.
I know what you're talking about, but I do not remember off the top of my head.
So Augur of Autumn, that's really good. Didn't even realize this is a human, and this is as good as card draw, basically.
I'd also say with the commander ability to be able to move counters around, turning on the Coven ability should be surprisingly easy.
Yeah, it
So you
should
can
be
actually
easy
play
anyways,
off
but then it'll be
play
even...
creatures off the top.
Yeah, so Augur of Autumn, and it's gonna, get lands, and yeah, it's gonna be good. Boromir, I love this guy.
It's protection on a creature and a
Yeah,
human to boot.
he's actually CDH viable. Yeah, he's a human. He's got vigilance. He protects you against all those annoying free spells like that free commander counter spell
I
and
should really remember what that's called.
free commander counter spell.
Fierce
Fierce
Guardianship.
Guardianship. So he protects you against all those annoying cards like Fierce Guardianship, and he can, protect your whole board against a board wipe. So definitely worth $4. Cloak Cadet. Training, whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on more humans you control, draw a card. That's really good.
Yeah. In training, you can also put counters on your own stuff. It's very impactful and on theme.
General Cruda. Oh yeah, this guy's good. Other humans you control get +1/+1, so he's an Anthem. He can exile a card from a graveyard, and then he's repeatable spot removal.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of creatures that do multiple things or fill multiple roles in a deck, making your deck more flexible over time. This
Yeah,
guy can
really
remove
any
creatures.
card in general, I think in EDH that does more things is good. Like you want options always in EDH because there's always so much going on. And then
Flexibility is better than anything else.
Yeah, at least for our casual battle cruiser style EDH. I mean, for CDH, then you start playing the really narrow, high efficiency cards. But for this, this is exactly the kind of card we want. Oh yeah, this card, I saw this one. This one's super good because it's gonna make a ton of mana, and that's way better than like an Arcane Signet or a Chromatic Lantern.
It's also a human and has vigilance, so it can actually become a threat. It just does everything.
Yeah, it's like a Chromatic Lantern, almost not quite. It's a mana rock that later can become a huge threat. So, and it's on theme, so it makes, it's like if you stick to an on theme card, then that card makes all of the other cards in your deck better. Because it's like if you have things that you get benefits based on their being human or based on them having 1/1 counters. Every human you add that does things with 1/1 counters makes all of the other cards in your deck related to that better. It's the importance of really sticking to your theme. Intrepid Adversary, Lifelink, ETB, put Valor counters on it. And then Anthem effect for... Oh, that's cool, because that scales with the length of the game. Like, late game...
Yeah, this
can be like
a
+4,
mana outlet.
+4 to all creatures. Yeah, it's great to have something... It's like, this is good early on, and it's good late game.
Yeah, you wouldn't be unhappy to play it on turn 2 to start poking people to get some lifelink. But turn 4, you might play it as a basic Glorious Anthem, but then late game it's definitely a finisher.
Yeah, and people sometimes underestimate the power of having a 3/1 life linker and just swinging at people kind of early in the games. But if you think about how many games you see where someone wins or loses because of 3 life or 6 life, it really makes a big difference to have something come out early and hit other people for 3 and gain you 3. Intrepid Paleontologist. Add 1 mana of any color, exile card from a graveyard, and something about.
So there's a lot of text here, and it will most likely never come up.
Actually,
but it
I
lets
think
you
this.
cast a dinosaur spell from like cards you've exiled from someone's graveyard. So
No,
it's
because
kind of a
it's from among
graveyard
cards
hate.
you own. So like you can't cast opponents' dinosaurs with this
Oh,
card.
it doesn't let you. That's much
Yeah, that was
worse.
my first thought, and then I saw. But still, it's this is again a great replacement for Arcane Signet because it's a human, and it's also got this grave hate ability.
Yeah. So
So that's
modal
exactly
function.
like the kinds of replacements we want. Kyler,
Here's
one of our
another kind of haymaker for the deck.
yeah, one of our friends has this as a commander and hates the name of it for a commander, but I didn't realize it's a cleric also. That's cool. Yeah, this is a perfect haymaker for this deck. This card, I've played with it before. It's a little complex, but basically it's like it puts counters on things, and then if you have creatures with 3 or more different powers, then you get to draw a card at the beginning of combat. So this is perfectly on theme for this deck.
And it's a human.
Yeah, and it's human, of course. Mangara, he's a human, and yeah, this is solid card draw. And I mean, Card Kingdom, it says $2, but it's what? It's actually like 60 cents at TCG Player or something.
Yeah. You can find cheap copies.
Yeah, he's a solid card. He'll draw. Metastatic Evangel. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battle, proliferate. That's cool.
Yes. This card, I did a lot of limited in Modern Horizons 3, and this card gets out of control really fast.
That's
Especially
cool.
when you're playing humans where they're all low drops, so you start proliferating multiple times a turn.
Yeah, this will help accelerate the game a lot and make the deck more aggressive. Oh, Mikaeus, that makes a lot of sense, man. Especially with that proliferate card we just found, because then you can keep putting counters on Mikaeus. Plus, the commander
Chaos
can
is
do it
also a
too.
great turn 2 drop, and then just start growing him. And then once you have a board presence, you can start distributing counters. And it pairs really well with what is that card? Hardened Scales.
The commander can put a counter on it, and then Mikaeus can put a counter on everything. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's like
It is synergistic.
it's an infinite combo if you have infinite turns and infinite mana. Morbid Opportunist. This card is really good. It's a slight nombo with some of the exile effects, but it doesn't matter because creatures die so much in EDH. Sergeant John Benton. Yeah, again, we just talked about this.
It's a weird card, but the fact that it has haste makes it really strong. Because
And it is good
presumably,
card draw, yeah.
presumably when you play it, you will draw 2 cards. And yes, you are giving your opponent that you just hit 2 cards, but you're probably also attacking the person who's the weakest because you kind of want to just get the damage in. Or you can kind of politics your way into drawing more cards.
Yeah, and it's
Opponent,
got trample
yeah.
too, so if it gets big.
And you will draw cards equal to the damage. So if you jam a bunch of counters onto him, you can really draw a lot of cards.
Man, it'd be really cool to make him so big that you can deck people with it.
You'd also deck yourself.
Worth it, bro. Worth it.
The Pyrrhic Victory.
Tadia's Juniper Ascendant. Human Monk, reach, hexproof unless it's attacking. Whenever a creature controls reach attacks, untap it, and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. And then it's got like a Toski style effect.
It's a worse Toski effect because it's whenever
Oh, it's
one or
only
more.
one card.
So you just need to attack each of your opponents if you want to draw multiple cards. That said, it's still on theme. It's a human. Reach is fine as an ability. It
I
has
think Reach is a
hexproof, so
little
it'll.
bit underrated, actually, especially something like this that basically has Vigilance, because Reach and Vigilance is almost, it's like my Thantis deck focused on Vigilance Reach creatures, because you can attack, and then you can block anything, and then you don't get hit by anti-flying board wipes and stuff.
Yeah, and the weird kind of a creature you control with Reach attacks, untap it, and it can't be blocked by creatures with greater
Mm-hmm.
power. If you
Keeps them
load a few
alive.
counters onto this, it still might be able to sneak through a lot of combat.
Yeah.
situations.
Add 1 mana of any color. Another target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample. 7 mana won't be used a lot, but there's going to be times that is relevant. And then, yeah, it's a good Arcane
It's
Signet replacement.
Yeah, it just has mana, but it has another ability.
So now we're up to 40 creatures. I think this deck was at like around 30 or something before. And just decks like this, just like with the Slivers video, if you just add in way more creatures, they usually just work a lot better. So now we have Sorcery. Who's got Requisition Raid, 1 white mana spree. It can destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, and put a 1/1 counter on each creature target player controls. Yeah, that's some good options. That's
It's
a good
the
replacement
type of
for some of the.
interaction that
Yeah,
just
like
does everything.
replaces that other kind of removal spell we took out, and it also can, stay on theme, and it's cool.
And
So
sure,
here's
it's
the
not
most.
instant speed, but it's fine.
Oh right, yeah, it's sorcery, but um, so here's the most expensive card we want to put, which is a Chroma's Will, and yeah, I guess you get salty about this card because, well, there's that
I
one
just
day I
lose
think
to
I
this
won
card
like
a
three. I
lot.
think I won like 3 games in a row because of a Chroma's Will across different decks I have. Right? It was like Angels, a Chroma's Will, and then it was like Yoshi Kadama, a Chroma's Will. This card is just such. It's just so strong. I mean, it just gives your creatures like everything, and so this will. You can use it defensively to protect them from a board wipe, but you can also just use it to get through with basically unblockable double strike.
And then you also have lifelink on top of that,
Yeah,
so
I mean, it just does. It's like so many. It's just.
it is such a beating every time.
Yeah, so this is the most expensive card we're adding, but sometimes it's better to buy one $12 card than a bunch of 50-cent cards, or grab a planes and write a Chroma's Will on it. Don't actually
Also
do that.
proxy.
Yeah,
You can
yeah. If
proxy.
people are gonna do proxies, I'm fine if they do legit proxies. But when it's just like a sticky note on a card, all your cards are planes. Like, what are you doing to me? Kabira takedown. Yeah, this is a good MFDC card, especially in a deck like Humans. It's because it's a land when you want it to be a land. It's removal when you want it to be removal.
I think it's MDFC. I
Did I
recently
call it
fixed myself up.
MDFC, MFDC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's just like with whatever it is, GDPR, GPDR.
Yeah. It's double face cards,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
multi-faced
MDFC.
double-sided cards.
Yeah.
MDF modal
It,
double-faced cards. Yeah, it's not
and
multi-faced, it's modal double-faced cards. Again, GPDR, GRDP, MDFC, MCDF. Oh yeah, Horn of
yeah.
the Mark. This is a card that you noticed me play this recently in my Angels deck, huh?
I run this in what deck do I run this in? I run this in any creature heavy deck, honestly. I think this is
Yeah.
in mono green and mono red.
Yeah, I remember this came
It's
out. I got right away for Angels because yes, you attack with 2 more creatures, you reveal top 5 cards of your library, and you get a creature card, and that can be almost as good as just drawing 5 cards since you get the creature you want. And then since we've gone up to 40 cards in this deck, or since we've gone up
it's
to 40
unlikely to
creatures
whiff.
in this deck, well, you'll get basically not quite guaranteed, but you're almost always going to hit a creature with this. I think I've still never not hit a creature with this in my Angels deck that has 40 creatures in it. Literally every single time there's creatures there. Boom.
Yeah.
All right, so we got. Oh, actually, now we're going to run to that problem of because I added Selfless Squire. So we'll
That's
go
fine.
up
We
to
can go and find
101
another
cards and
cut.
then we'll cut one. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Communal Brewing. This is a lot of text. It's got like a raccoon and stuff, which is cool. And when it ETBs any number of target opponents each draw a card, put an ingredient counter on Communal Brewing, then put an ingredient counter on it for each card drawn this way. Whenever you cast a creature spell, that creature enters with X additional 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of ingredient counters on Communal Brewing. Is this the only card that uses ingredient counters?
Yes.
That's
It is.
funny.
It's like the Valor counter on that creature.
Yeah, or the music counter on the clam.
Yeah. Although I think there are multiple cards that use music counters.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah,
Uh,
this card's good. It's going to make things real big.
After you play this, and if you happen to get like the metastatic Evangel, you can proliferate the communal counters, or what ingredient counters.
Laid to rest. Whenever human you control dies, draw a card. Whenever creature you control with a 1/1 counter on dies, you gain 2 life. Yeah, not bad. At least it if someone board wipes you with like a toxic deluge, like this player talked about, then you get some value out of it. And it's worth mentioning, some people don't realize this, but if your creatures have 1/1 counters on them and then someone toxic deluges and those creatures die, they still have 1/1 counters on them because it's not giving the creatures -1/-1 counters, it's giving them -1/-1. I see that mistake made sometimes. So even against a toxic deluge, you still gain the life. So yeah, that's a good find. You found a lot of good cards for this. And then lastly, we have Gavany Township, which is just
A
it's
little
just
expensive, but it's super on theme with what the deck wants to do. And I think the deck does not run that. It doesn't run any utility lands, and I think it could run a few utility lands.
I think I have a lot of copies of this card somewhere. I played a lot of the Innistrad block. So yeah, Gavany Township is good. And now we need to get rid of one card to make
I would
room.
cut the Eladamri's call in that tutors are good, but there's no, all the creatures are good and they synergize together, but there is not a creature that I'm thinking like, I want to pull this one creature because I'm going to win the game when I play it. Like there's no, I mean, there kind of are now a few cards that are close to that, but there's no card like Crater Hoof where it's just like, oh, if I get Crater Hoof, I'm going to win the game.
I mean, I
Like,
think I would still run it because, like, I mean, I assume this player already owns it and it's a $10 card, and it's still just good. Because, like, I mean, yeah, it's true you won't win the game,
oh,
but
it's
I mean,
good. Yeah.
you can go get Kyler, or I mean, even turn 2, you might just cast it and then go get Boromir. So you have Boromir out turn 3.
I mean, it is a good card, no doubt. It's just one of those. How useful is it now that you're drawing more cards? And do you need the consistency to find a specific creature when you already have like Ayara's Oathsworn, which is a tutor, but it's built into the kind of counter and human synergy.
Hmm. I want to keep it because, like, I would also say, like, you could say, oh, it's less good because you draw cards, but it's
But it can find
also
you cards. Yeah.
it can also find you some of the card draw things. And, like, I mean, it's only 2 mana. So I would, and it still gets you the card you want. And I mean, you could get an E-Witness to get something important back from the graveyard. You could, I don't know, you could even just, I would probably typically cast it if I had it turn 2, cast it and go get Heron Blade Elite so I can start gain a ton of mana. But also, I don't know what else to cut. Oh, this card's cool.
It is very cool.
Also, look at that art.
That is, yeah, some gnarly Abzan art.
Yeah, and it's Abzan flavor text, so that's a win.
I mean, so you could maybe cut Brijon, Soldier of Meletis.
Remove one counter from
It draws a
Burgone.
card.
Is that a
It's not
type of
bad.
spaghetti? Burgone?
I do not know.
Greek spaghetti? Like, whenever you cast a spell that targets it, so that basically never happens. But I mean, it's card draw and it's vigilance for 2 mana.
Yeah. Okay. What else? What else do we have in here?
Oh, that's so good, Asban Falconer. Unless we need more 1/1 counter generation, I would probably get rid of this because it's only 1 counter.
A turn. Yeah, it's pretty slow.
Like, it doesn't really. Yeah, I mean, this is great again in, like, limited, and I think I run it in my clerics deck just to try and make the clerics get a little bit bigger, but I don't think we need more ways to put counters on things.
Yeah, it seems like a reasonable cut.
Though, speaking of putting counters on things, if this player ever wanted to buy a Great Henge, that would be awesome in this deck.
Oh, I think there are. If once you start dumping money into this deck, I think there are a lot of really good improvements.
Oh
Like
yeah, it could be
I
so
think,
busted.
or there's just a lot of good cards at the $10 range.
Yeah.
Like I think Growing Rights of Itlamok, that's a $6 card and would be really good in this deck. I think Guardian Project would be solid.
So one thing we didn't talk
Branching
about was the
Evolution.
lands, and we did cut a couple of, like, the off-color fetches and things just because it felt like this deck had more than enough color fixing, and there aren't that many duels to actually fetch per se. So
I'd also say the off color fetches that I cut were the black ones because they can only fetch a black source, and that's the least common color in the deck. I think the deck is like 10%, 20% black cards, yeah, it's really low.
50% green, 50% white. Cool. Well, let's play test this. So I would keep
Oh,
this hand because it
it's a
has.
busted hand with Soul Ring and Horn of the Mark
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
a
Okay.
creature.
So, well, so I'll just, let's see. Bountiful Promenade, Soul Ring,
That
Horn
will
of the Mark.
enter. Oh yeah.
Draw for second turn. I'd probably flooded. So I'm gonna play Intrepid
I
Adversary and then
would,
Flooded Strand for something into play tap.
or you could play it with a
Oh
plus
wait, we
one
could
plus
play
one
the
counter.
commander.
Yeah, or the commander.
Let's just
I think
yeah, let's get because I don't want to have to tutor right now. So let's just play the commander.
that's pretty good.
Okay, and we'll do. Let's see, what Bashman gets to 5 mana,
Then you
and then
get
we could play.
champion and then intrepid at
Yeah,
two.
champion, and then intrepid, and then
And then you would attack with the commander.
yeah, and then attack with the commander, and then draw.
Land as Band Ascendancy attack.
No,
Horn of the
actually,
Mark
we
trigger.
no. I think we probably want to attack first and see what creature we get because we might want to cast it.
Oh,
Like
I suppose.
I think potentially casting what we draw is more important than putting a 1/1 than doing two more damage.
I was
So
thinking
we'll
getting the, in case someone like Wrath of God you or Toxic Deluge, you at least get a bunch of spirits from your board.
yeah, but we can still
That was my
cast this
thinking.
second main phase, I guess. Like I just think
That's true.
it's worth seeing the cards first. So we'll see what we get from. All right, we get Selfless Squire, and then yeah, we will cast Asban Ascendancy.
Abzan.
Abzan Ascendancy. And then I think we can Flooded Strand for something, untap so we can Kabira takedown if we want to. This feels like a strong start to me. I think we should just try a
Yeah.
new one.
I mean,
Oh
starting with
yeah.
Soul Ring is not really typical.
Yeah. So let's see. We got 1, 2, 3. We got 4 lands. Ozolith. Oh, 5 lands.
Turn 1 and 2 play into turn 3 commander seems pretty good.
Yeah, I would. Oh, Inspiring Call. So we actually have a little bit card draw. So yeah, I would keep this hand because I would rather. This isn't necessarily an amazing hand, but I'd rather keep a safe hand than risk, mulliganing and then ending up next hand like 1 land or something. Like not. We don't have to mulligan for a busted hand. So we'll draw for the turn. Oh, Hopeful Initiate.
This got way better.
Yeah. Boom. We'll
Training
draw.
is on attack. I'm trying to remember how training
Yeah, it's like
works.
on attack. If it attacks with something with greater power, it gets bigger.
Right.
We'll play this Woze Pathfinder.
Uh,
Wosi?
yeah.
Oh, that's a Lord of the Rings
Well,
thing. You should know how to say that.
I do not know. I think it's woes, but couldn't tell you.
So we play that. So training's when it attacks with another creature, so it won't do much. Oh wow, we got Heroic Intervention now.
That you could just secluded courtyard into commander.
Yeah, Secluded Courtyard into Humans. And then yeah, we play Dagathar. Actually, what we could do is oh no, we can't get training because this thing's only 1. Okay,
Yeah.
so boom, and then we draw, and God, this card's just so good. Hopeful Initiate. Removing counters to destroy artifacts or enchantment.
Let's see.
We'll play this
Play the
land.
land. You would attack with Dagar and the trainee, or Dagathar and the trainee. The trainee would get 1 counter. So now your Inspiring Call at least draws you 2 cards.
Which is fine. 3 mana for 2 cards. So I think probably what I would do is I guess this would depend. What I did would depend on how concerned I am about a board wipe. Because it's like you could play the Ozolith and then sit on the mana for Inspiring Call and cast it either way. Like whether there's a board wipe or not, you could cast it on your opponent's turns because you could still draw 2 cards for 3 mana. Or if we're less the other option is you play Burgone and then sit on Heroic Intervention.
You could also still run with Ozolith because you have the woes Pathfinder.
Oh, that's right. We have okay. Yeah, that's probably the best. Ozolith and Burgone.
Yeah. The
Spaghetti
other
waifu.
play you could consider is keeping 3 mana available to, like, you'd play Burgone and then sit on 3 mana so that you can move a counter to Burgone so that the next turn your Inspiring Call draws you 3 cards. Or if you get another land, then you could move another counter, and then play Inspiring Call.
Yeah, yeah, that all makes sense. Let's do that one because since we have board wipe protection, we're less worried about our creatures leaving the battlefield, so we don't need the Ozalithu. And then, yeah, we'll move a thing over to Burgone and then draw. Play land. I mean, we'll tap and remove the counter from Burgone to draw.
Well, or you Inspiring Call to proactively draw. So you could pay 3
That's true,
to
especially if we
move a
want to
counter
swing.
to the woes and then draw 4.
Well, yeah, regardless, I think this is also a good start. I mean, we got Chroma's Will. We're drawing cards. We got board wipe protection. So I think, like,
Feels
eventually
good.
we'll probably win. As long as we're careful about keeping our board around. So let's try another game. I mean, this
Oh,
seems
this sounds good.
keepable. 2-mana ramp. 2-mana ramp. Inspiring Call again. Asban Charm. I love this card. Abzan. Did I say it right this time, finally?
One day.
I think I did that time. Okay, so we'll draw. This will enter tapped. We'll draw Flooded Strand.
Probably into the graveyard. What is it? The black-green Overgrown Tomb.
So shock ourselves.
So the question is, I don't know if you actually run out the ramp.
No, I think you run out the ramp because we don't even know if we're gonna draw a third land, right?
We don't know if we're going to draw a third land, but we could either get Mikaeus to start generating counters, or we could get the Ayara's Oathsworn to start attacking, and it'll start getting counters to hopefully start tutoring things.
I mean, I would rather Farseek or Woe's Pathfinder because then if we don't draw next turn, we Asban Charm to draw 2 cards, and if we don't draw a land next turn, we can Abzan Charm to draw 2 because I don't want to miss a land drop this early.
That's fair. I guess Farseek is the right play.
Either that or the Pathfinder.
I think sitting on the Pathfinder so that if you do hit enough lands, you could do Torrens and then just throw out the woes to get a human trigger.
Okay.
Or a Torrens trigger.
View Library. Pull Garden, because I remember the name of that off the top of my head, and that will.
Or you could get something tapped. You would get the Snowfield Sinkhole.
Oh yeah, that's true. That would be the better play, but I don't feel like dealing with that. So we'll draw. So we did draw land, but enters tapped. So
I think Torrens is the best.
Yeah, we want to get this out and then that. Draw. And then I don't know if the commander has to come out. I mean, I think I would probably want to do Mikaeus and Esper Sentinel and start making Esper Sentinel bigger from Mikaeus.
Yeah.
Or also, that's 2 creatures cast, so we get 2 human tokens.
It's either that or Ayara's Oathsworn and Esper Sentinel. Because Mikaeus at 2 mana would have only a single counter, so you would tap it and then lose it to buff the board.
Well, we have 3 mana, right? Oh wait, this enter
this
turn. Or no, yeah, this is untap now. So yeah, because we would put 2 counters on him and Esper Sentinel.
I thought the Scattered Growth came in this turn, which is why it's tapped. Which is why we only have 3 mana available.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. So this is tapped. So what were you saying? Pathfinder and Esper Sentinel?
Ayara's Oathsworn and Esper Sentinel. Is what I would
that makes sense.
Probably do.
And then next turn, draw Thales.
That's pretty good because then you could 2-drop
we probably drew 1 card off Esper Sentinel. I think we could probably assume that.
I don't know. I guess maybe. It's one of those
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, the playtest situation.
Yeah.
I would still I'd still say this is a pretty sweet hand because you would Mikaeus at 2 mana, Thalius Lieutenant, which will put a counter onto Mikaeus and the whole board, and you will have made.
Oh yeah, now we have all
4
these
human
ones.
counters.
Oh my god, now we have a ton
There's
of
9 creatures.
9 creatures, and
they
all of them have
+1/+1
counters. And then next turn we'll Inspiring Call and draw 9 cards.
Seems good.
Unless we get board wiped, but that seems good. And if we do get board wiped, probably they'll have to pay for Esper Sentinel, so we would draw a card, and then we've got Asban Charm to draw us 2 more next turn. So we would have some recovery options. We wouldn't be totally screwed. I felt like all three of those were good, so I think
Yeah, it seems like the
seems
deck
fixed.
is doing what it wants to do, or like
Yeah,
what
it
the
looks
person
like it
wants
can
it to do.
protect itself early in the game. It looks like it can be pretty aggressive.
It's going to
And
do the human thing. It's like Elf Ball, where you just jam a bunch of humans on the board and start antheming them and swinging at people. I think the challenge with this style of deck is learning to be comfortable with attacks where you're going to lose creatures, where you swing in and they have a 5/5 blocker, and you're just like, okay, it's fine. Like I'm gonna swing in with my 4/3/3s, and you're gonna block whichever one is the best, but you're still getting in that damage.
yeah, and hopefully you have like Ozolith or something so you get the counters back.
And there are a lot of ways to alter this deck. Like you could start playing more black cards, like Patriarch's Bidding to do get some recursion. There's also some humans that do recursion themselves that are always an option.
And honestly, this is a card too. Like if you did Rayhan with another human, and that
Yeah,
might just be an upgrade to this deck. Like if you wanted
like
to,
Tibna the Weaver.
yeah, Timno Rayhan with Timno would be really gross. But you could also even just do Ravel's Soul Tender, so you could stay in the same colors and you could get partner commanders, or you could put both of these in your deck and then they could be like alternate commanders.
There's some good upgrades. Like I think the deck could totally run Thali on the Gitrog monster, and that would be very strong.
All right, cool. Well, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.